My roommate, 22, and I, 24, have been living together for 6 months and so far everything has been gravy. We're friends from college, live our own lives, and both do our share of the chores around the apartment. A few days ago, my roommate, we'll call her Claire, brought home an emu egg. We live in rural Australia, so seeing an emu egg is not that big a deal, but then she told me she found it on a mound in the bush, and I'm like, holy crap, is this an actual live emu in here? She just shrugged. I said it wasn't good to just take an egg that had a chick in it. She told me she thought it was abandoned and she was gonna try to get it to hatch. Now at this point, I pretty much washed my hands of the situation. I didn't like having this egg around, but I wasn't gonna sabotage my living situation over it. She would keep it in her room under a heat lamp, she has a pet lizard that needs one, so I'd hardly see it. Now, one day I come home from work and I'm completely wrecked cause I work on my feet all day. I walk over to the couch and sit down on this U-shaped cushion, kinda like this one we've had forever, and put some trash TV on. Of course, I end up falling asleep lying on the couch. Flash forward to a couple of hours later and I wake up to Claire prodding me in the shoulder. I open my eyes and she is glaring straight at me, holding the egg right in my face. There is a tiny chink poked out of it, and the baby emu's beak is legit coming through. I scream and ask her why the hell she is holding a hatching animal in my face. She tells me that she left the egg in the U-shaped cushion to incubate and that by sleeping on it for ages, I had hatched it. She said it was the egg's cooling period and by sitting on it, I caused it to hatch prematurely. I told her she should cool herself and that she didn't know what she was talking about. I think she was just mad that I hatched the egg and not her. Now she is talking about me leaving the apartment, the lease is in her name, over this. I feel like it was an honest mistake and she shouldn't have stolen the egg and left it on the couch in the first place. So please tell me, am I the idiot here? Not the idiot for making hatch. You are the idiot for letting her keep it to begin with as not to rock the boat. What ability does she have to care for an emu? As you have brought it home you can't just release it back into the wild as it won't know how to forage for itself. The most you can do now is give it to a certified wildlife care. And yes, your roommate is a massive you are the idiot for being selfish and taking the egg. Also, call the authorities, because it is absolutely not legal to take an emu egg from the wild and you too cannot raise and have an emu. Not the idiot. You didn't do it on purpose. She left an egg under a pillow without leaving a note to let you know. What, are you supposed to be a mind reader? She stole an emu egg and instead of giving it to someone knowledgeable of how to care for it, she risked its life by taking it and trying to hatch it. It might be a good thing for you to leave the apartment though, she sounds a bit crazy. Or should I say emu crap crazy? Oh, and I would like to request an emu tax. Pictures please. I wish my life was this interesting. Not the idiot. Probably should call someone about that emu. I'm sure she's googled how to care for it, but an emu. My parents took care of some tawny frogmouths that had fallen from the nest in our yard and they grew up alright considering. But an emu probably needs more attention and care than most birds. I'd call a professional. Plus, isn't what is she doing illegal? I'd probably welcome moving away than sticking around while she tries to raise a goddamn emu. She has committed a crime by taking the egg from the wild without a license. My wife, 33, and I, 33, were at a family dinner at my parents' house with my brother, 30, his wife, 29, and their new baby, the little guy is about 11 weeks old. My mom and her family have always been one to compliment people on their looks and weight, so when my sister-in-law came over with a baby, my mom and aunt were gushing about how great she looked. She is a fairly active person and does stay in shape, which is good for her. However, she embarrasses easily and is quite uncomfortable when people talk about her body. She just made a comment on breastfeeding a lot and taking walks with a baby. My wife was sitting next to me, rolls her eyes and starts muttering to me that I'm sure throwing up your whole pregnancy didn't help either. I gave her a look but didn't comment. She made snide remarks about my sister-in-law the whole night. On the car ride home, my wife is going on and on about my sister-in-law, how smug she must be to be looking like she does so soon after having a baby, and how full of herself to be putting her appearance before being a mother, and then brought up the vomiting again. Now I've known my wife since we were in junior high, and she's always made comments about other girls like this, always. She's a bit on the bigger side and seems to have resentment towards thinner women. Anyway, I pointed out that my sister-in-law wasn't making herself sick but had a condition while pregnant that caused her to be like that, can't think of the name of it. My wife laughed and said she was sure that's what she wanted us to think and that my sister-in-law has always been about her looks and that she was surprised the baby wasn't scrawny considering she can't possibly eat enough to be feeding him. I got really annoyed and said it was my mom and aunt that always made comments, not my sister-in-law, and told my wife she didn't have to be so snide. My wife went off at me for defending my sister-in-law and started asking and accusing me of finding her attractive. I was so blown away by her meltdown that I told her I didn't want to talk to her for the rest of the ride home. She took this as me saying I do find my sister-in-law attractive. I told her no, that I just don't want to deal with her insecurities right now. Well, my wife started crying, calling me cruel, and that I don't have to point out the fact that she's insecure. Still annoyed by her accusations, I told her she doesn't have to tear people down to make herself feel better. When we got home she went straight to bed, and I get a lovely explosion of texts from her friends telling me what idiot I am. I know her feelings are hurt, but I don't think she has to make comments about others who have done nothing to slight her other than looking the way they do. Not the idiot. I would strongly recommend she go to counseling. If you don't think she'd go on her own, maybe offer to go to couples counseling to talk through and finally resolve this toxic behavior. Not only are her comments incredibly rude and woman-bashing, she then turns it around on you. Like she can't fathom you being correct about her toxic behavior, so she assumes you must be crushing on your sister-in-law, which sounds crazy. On top of it, she then recruits her friends to harass you, which breaks trust in the marriage. Not the idiot, but your wife sure is. I know you love her and might defend her, but she's kind of an idiot. She sounds jealous of the baby and sister-in-law bouncing back. What I would say to the wife. Imagine how sister-in-law would feel if she has heard you. What if sister-in-law inferred ugly things about you because you're overweight? Your wife needs to put herself on the other end of this. She wouldn't like it. She owes you an apology, and so do her idiot friends. The next time she makes a comment, she can do it to her friends, not where a family could hear her. Not the idiot. Your sister-in-law probably had hyperemesis gravidarum. I had it with my second pregnancy, and I wouldn't wish it on anyone. Your wife is being extremely petty and cruel by making assumptions and implying that your sister-in-law is bulimic. And as a fat person, it frustrates me to no end when other ladies on the bigger side think the key to making themselves feel better is to tear other women down. Either own your fat or work to change it if you don't like it, but insulting others does nothing to make you look better, inside or out. So, I'm ready to get roasted here, but I will accept my judgment. I got married about 6 months ago, and my family offered to pay for most of the wedding. This was a hugely generous offer and I appreciated it a lot. I work in public service and there's no way I could have afforded a wedding at all. Well, I knew that by accepting the money, I really needed to let my family have the final word on a lot of decisions. I had one holdout request that blew up into a huge fight. My parents have a neighbor, let's call him Charlie, who is just complete trash and nothing like any of their other friends. I have nothing to do with him, and if he shows up at their place, I leave. He's bigoted, he's exposed himself to women at parties as a joke, he's grabbed women while drunk, and he's a terrible alcoholic. Inexplicably, this guy is Teflon with my parents' friend group, and according to them, it would have been unthinkable to snub him. Now, we fought about this, an ugly fight. Tears were shed. I begged. My dad, he's mean, called me the C-word and more, and threatened not to come to my wedding at all. He left me sobbing on the street and told me I was killing my mother because I am such an ungrateful idiot. I am not proud of this, but I caved. I was feeling vulnerable. I didn't want all the ugliness. My dad is seriously ill, so every fight feels like I can't take it back, and my mom promised that Charlie would be escorted out at the first sign of trouble. I wasn't so sure, particularly because my group of friends is very diverse and my husband isn't white, but I trusted her that it would be okay for a few hours, and I, according to her, wouldn't even know he's there. Fast forward to the wedding. Charlie gets rip-roaring drunk and starts trying to fight our DJ. He's screaming F you, flipping him off. He's mad, I guess, because he doesn't like the music. The bartenders cut him off and he's escorted out. I didn't know this at the time because it was all handled so quickly. When I found out, I called the DJ and bartenders personally to apologize, but I'm livid. I'm so embarrassed. I know how easily this could have been worse. It could have just as easily been my husband's family, and I don't know that I would have ever been able to apologize enough. I am so angry at my parents for bullying me to invite Charlie, especially because he did exactly what I knew he would do, and they act like no one saw this coming. Am I the idiot because I could have and should have walked away from their offer to pay and sidestepped the issue? Or is it fair of me to be upset because they used a generous offer coupled with a threat to blow up my family and estrange themselves to manipulate me to do something that made me horribly uncomfortable and it caused potentially disastrous consequences? Not the idiot. If someone is being generous and giving you a gift, it's because they love and care about you. What your parents did, however, wasn't generosity, it was interesting. They controlled you with the money, and that's just inadmissible. I would honestly want to bake them a cake saying Charlie screws, and so do you. Everyone but you screw here. Your parents took advantage of your vulnerable position. Charlie was just a plain idiot. You were the only decent person and you have all the right to be upset. Not the idiot. I get the pressure of wanting to please your family and keep the peace during your wedding. Although I think it was entirely in your right to put your foot down and not invite Charlie, he isn't your friend, he doesn't need to come, and you definitely should have. I understand the predicament. You're guilty of being optimistic that everything would be fine. There's no real shame in that. I think you're also right about being angry at your parents. They really did manipulate you into inviting this idiot. Not the idiot. Many things should have not happened. Honestly, it was your wedding, and if you didn't like what your parents were doing you should have done it by yourself. I know that money is a huge factor, but being in control of your special day is very important. They ruined it by inviting an idiot and letting him be an adult's offender overstepping boundaries. I'm sorry you had to go through that, but on the plus side you are happily married, and I hope that your family doesn't give you such a hard time. To keep matters brief, I'm going to call my stepmom mom because she basically is, but y'all need to know she's my stepparent for the story. She raised me and I love her, and she's been an amazing mom, but she's emotionally draining in the same way all parents kinda are. My step-grandma and I are really close. Like, really, really close. We both share personalities, interests, we even look alike, and both have the same physical build, etc. Growing up I was so connected with her. This caused some tension with her bio-grandchildren and kids, and over the years they've accused her of favoritism, me of twisting grandma, etc. Grams is very old and is about to pass away any day now. She has an oxygen tank, a nurse who stays with her at home, and the thing that breaks my heart the most is that her mind is completely as sharp as ever, it's just her body that's giving up. My mom and Grams were never close, but since she's been sick, mom has been making a big effort to come and see her. Yesterday I was sitting with grandma rambling total crap and mom came in furiously typing. It later transpired the texting was about me usurping Gram's time because I'm always with her and she was defending me, but at the moment her phone kept chiming. Like every 2 seconds. And it's that annoying Samsung jingle, so it's not a quick beep and it just kept going and going. I was already feeling pretty emotionally rough, so I said, "Mom, put your phone on silent for God's sake," but she went, "No, I don't like it on silent." 2 minutes later another cacophony of jingles. Grandma didn't look happy with the noise at all, she kept wincing because she prefers the quiet, so I hissed to my mom, "Get out of the room, Mom, if you won't put your phone on silent." She gave me a hurt look and left, and later on, she burst out crying and kept saying that I didn't need to fight with her in front of Grandma. I feel completely crappy, but also like she wasn't respecting that my grandma needs quiet too. I'm going to go with "You are the idiot." Well, your mom was being inconsiderate, you lashed out at her and she was hurt. I think the correct way of handling the situation would have been to first point out that the noise is bothering your grandma as well, in case she wasn't aware, and ask politely, but firmly, a second time, rather than being rude. If she still wouldn't have put her phone on silent, or have left the room, I'd have gone with "Not the idiot," but since she was almost certainly not trying to be inconsiderate, your harsh reaction makes you the idiot in my opinion. No idiots here. I'm genuinely surprised, so many people have said "not the idiot" on this thread. Death is hard, and everyone copes with it differently, some may struggle to face the reality of losing someone, and cope in a way you don't understand or see as valuable. Yes, she could have turned her phone to silent when you first asked, but you didn't need to snap at her. She's losing her mother slowly and painfully. Or are you to assume that, because you are closer to your grandmother, that your mom isn't valuing this time or grieving properly? Everyone's the idiot here and no idiots here. She was mid-defending you while trying to visit her mom who is also dying. Yes, she should have put it on silent, but if people are venting at her, I understand her wanting to be able to respond. I think it's just an emotional time and was not handled well by anyone. I would apologize to mom for being harsh and thank her for defending you to the other grandkids, who seem to be the idiots in this situation. If they really wanted to visit and spend time with Grams, they would be, instead of complaining to your mom that you're always there. My friend and I met in college, had been best friends for a few years, and she asked me to be a maid of honor in her wedding. She had 2 maid of honors, one of whom was a childhood best friend, so I was second. This didn't bother me, because I was just honored and excited to be part of her big day. I fulfilled all of the maid of honor duties, planned an engagement party, planned an awesome bachelorette weekend, and helped her with various wedding planning activities. She had a huge bridal party, and everyone was allowed to bring dates, so a couple months before the wedding I asked her if it was okay if I invited this guy I was dating. He was great, and she had never met him because she moved a few months before. We had talked about him a lot, and she told me she was excited to meet him. After I asked her, she freaked out on me, told me I was a terrible friend for even thinking I would be allowed to invite a date. My attention needed to be fully around her the whole weekend. Why would I expect her to want to meet this guy I am dating on her wedding weekend? This was so last minute and there wouldn't be enough food. It was over 2 months in advance, and the wedding was buffet style. I was annoyed because the other maid of honor was bringing a date, but decided not to fight her on it because ultimately it was her wedding and it wasn't worth it to me. I apologized and accepted I would be the only dateless one in the 24-person wedding party. This caused a huge rift in our friendship for the next few months till the wedding. She basically ignored me, and every time I would reach out and try to talk about it, she would totally shut down and say how horrible I was and that our friendship will be changed forever. When the wedding came around, I was ready to be the best support and help she could ask for. Whenever I would try to do anything, she would tell me she didn't need my help, her mom was going to help her, so I should just go enjoy myself and have fun. This also really annoyed me, but I once again let it slide because it was her wedding. Almost a year after the wedding, with no talking, she reached back out to me and said she misses us being friends and she is willing to forgive me for what I did. I asked her what I did, and she said she doesn't want to talk about it because it was so upsetting to her. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. I'm sorry this crazy Britazilla got into your head and made you consider for even a moment that you might be the idiot. It was fine for you to ask to bring a date. She was already the idiot in telling you that you couldn't because you needed to be focused on her. You then went above and beyond by catering to her wishes at the wedding, and she became a massive idiot. She didn't talk to you for a year because you asked to bring a date to her wedding. So if the situation had been something like, you'd please reply no for your +1, then met someone closer to the wedding date and she'd regretfully said no because they'd already finalized their numbers with their vendors, I'd say no idiots here. It shouldn't hurt to ask, but I can also understand her not being able to squeeze someone in last minute. But what even is her response? This is so over the top and petty. You are so incredibly not the idiot. She sounds like an exhausting person. Not the idiot. This person is a bad friend. Her only valid point, if it applied to everyone, is that she hadn't met him and didn't want to meet him at her wedding. But she is a jerk for allowing the other bridesmaid to bring a date and for getting so mad at you. And wanting 100% of your attention on her all weekend. From the info you gave, I get the sense that you're a nice, giving, helpful person that your friend has taken advantage of. And the minute you dared question something innocent, she blew up.